even before I had seen a martial art movie, I was somehow aware of, I think through friends, like in the US we have these things called like Inside Kung Fu. There was martial arts magazines in the 80s. And he had one, and there was a guy in an advert in the back doing a flying sidekick. And for some reason, you know, I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world, and I would just imitate that, and I'd never done that stuff before, but I had been breakdancing, interestingly enough. I was born in '75, and I was breakdancing in like '83, so I was really young. So I was just good at imitating physical movement. But then the first Bruce Lee movie that I ever saw, that's what really sort of kicked it off for me. Like a lot of people, when I was old enough to finally get my own video rental card, and you know, my mom couldn't say no, went and rented my first Bruce Lee movie, which I think was Enter the Dragon, but it possibly could have been The Big Boss. I don't know which one was first. Either way, that was it for me. I was totally obsessed with Kung Fu movies until this day. And my research focus now, even now for my thesis, for my graduate work, and for my job, is all about Hong Kong cinema. So, but aside from that, I wanted to learn a martial art too. So I grew up in New Hampshire in the United States, which is a small state. But there's not going to be any traditional Chinese teachers really in that area, but the closest approximation my friends would do is karate. So I found a Kempo karate school. My friend, he said, this guy's good, come learn with us. There's a lot of techniques that actually were from Kung Fu. So I started with Kempo, and then I moved on to actual Kung Fu. Yeah. It's like aesthetically, actually, that came, like I was saying before, the flying sidekick, all that stuff. It was almost like the aesthetics, the optics of it, and the physicality was what first drew me to it. Only later, when I entered high school, then I realized that, oh, that's also useful for self-defense. Because I was skateboarding at the time, and a bunch of no good kids rolled up. It was a classic, like, 3 of us and like 20 guys, and they had like, it's like, sounds like something out of a movie, like chains. Like, where did they get these ridiculous weapons, right? After that, I actually didn't get roughed up in any way, but after that, my friend said, you know, why don't you think about this Kempo school? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I was well aware that the self-defense component, I should definitely get on that. But the sort of cultivation part is also, I think you get it from doing it. Where the Kempo school did sort of follow that traditional model of your teacher is your teacher, yes sir, when you're first starting out. Yes sir, you're not supposed to talk back. You get that from it, and then you also get all the physical, repetitive, you're gonna get in good shape just by doing the art itself. So I think it's both. And in traditional Kung Fu, it's definitely, when I do the form, I can feel, this is from a Hung Gar form. You can feel your muscles, like the way it was designed. It is for well-being. I think it's both, but if I'm a white male, how can I practice a traditional Chinese martial art? But I did ask in Hong Kong about this specific issue, and the answer I got was that as long as it's in your heart, you know, you should be, it's open to everybody. And that's like a Bruce Lee philosophy too, because he was willing to teach white, Latino, and black in the US, when traditionally they were like, you can only teach Chinese, it's a secret. But they said, you know, even in Hong Kong, I should say, Lau Ka Young, this is who I asked. I wrote an article about this, Mark Houghton's Hung Gar Kung Fu School. I wrote an article about it, and I asked him. And he said that Kung Fu should be open to everybody. That's what he said. So he sees it, you know, it's a Chinese art. There's no doubt about that. But if you want to learn it and you can do it well, there should be no reason that you shouldn't be oh, you're not Chinese, you can't do that art. I don't know, as far as where is it going? I mean, in the US, there is, it's going back to BruceLee.com again, but Shannon's trying to tie Bruce in with UFC. Whereas, you know, Jeet Kune Do is sort of the original. Here's that classic quote. mixed martial art, which I can see the point in a way, right? Because he's taking kicks from Tang Soo Do, Wing Chun, straight blast. He's mixing fencing, all that stuff together. Just talking about, like, for me, it's Kung Fu cinema, like Hong Kong cinema, that's my specialty. But when I get talking about it with somebody that knows all the movies and knows all the quotes, like, it just builds and builds, and you could just keep going, and it gets really exciting. And it's sort of, but they told me in Hong Kong too, it's like a force behind it. It is a feeling. You really do get, if you do it enough, you get that feeling of, I guess it's chi, some people will call it, but it is some kind of force that you get excited and it just keeps building.